I forget you're based in Amsterdam. Once you accept it, it goes away. The invite,
Yeah.
what I've seen.
Yeah.
I'm learning it out. I did learning it myself as well.
Yeah, this is my first one. I was supposed to do one with John Bruton. I don't know if you know him.
No,
Let's do that. He's doing a lot of exciting work on operators as well, which
hmm.
is core to what I'm trying to do here as well.
When you say operators, what do you mean there?
Business operators, the ones that actually, I think, yeah, coming from a marketing background where the gains there are real, right? When you use AI, but not as big. The impact will be much bigger in actual business operations. I think a lot of the processes there, that's I think where it's less shiny, less fancy, less visible, but that's actually where the real work gets done, and where people are still using Excel to tie together, spreadsheets
Yeah,
from different systems. Where I think AI will have a much bigger impact down the line. And
great.
it's also more boring work, right? So
Yeah, I like it though because I think like sometimes it's like okay, you have to find like the perfect product market fit and everything, and but there's now with AI, there's just a lot of things we know there's fit because people are being paid to do those things.
yeah,
So if that you know that there's demand for it, if you can just do it better than they could do it as a service, then like the other product basically.
exactly. Better, yeah. The one thing though that I one of my major aha moments last year was research done by Anthropic, because one of my major things I'm rolling out enterprise agentic AI, generative AI solutions in the enterprise for my clients. Right, so one of the main pitches, the main notions I had in my head, at least, they will be much more reliable than agents because or than humans, because you can, the outcome will be much more repetitive because
Right.
you never know. People have off days, the mood swings, they're not paying attention, they haven't had their morning coffee, whatever it might be, right? So
Like
there's
coffee.
exactly. But this research by Anthropic, what it really showed was on value alignment and misalignment, that actually AI agents might not be as reliable as we think they are. They have a will of their own, more than so
Do you remember
coordinating them
that?
is just.
Do you remember that paper? I'm very interested in that topic.
I will, yeah, I'll share it. I think wrote about it back in June on the circuit as well. I can link that article as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Let me see if we can find it.
Damn. That's
But
awesome.
yeah, so that's sort of really. It was actually referenced. I was watching a podcast by or interview with Joshua Bengio, was one of the godfathers of
Mhm.
AI. Just a couple of weeks ago, he was on the diary of the CEO,
Mm.
and he also referenced this paper. So I wasn't the only one spooked by this by their findings. It really
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah, it takes the Marshall McLuhan's famous thing about the medium as the message?
yeah. I don't know this.
Oh, it's a famous say or he's an American media theorist that was like 1950s. His most famous phrase is the medium is the message.
Yeah,
And the idea that it's not most people would think about the content like with the content of a medium as a thing, but he makes a case like if you're consuming via video, it's doing something fundamentally different than if you're consuming via text. So I feel like this with AI takes that to the next level that it's not just what AI says back to you, it's that there's this thing that has a will on some level. It's
yeah.
not just this blank slate thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's warping our reality, right? For sure, and more than social media ever will be able to, because we're going to internalize opinions. AI, we use it as a mirror. If you use it as a mirror, you're doing work with it. Those things that the AI spits at you, you're going to internalize them much more than
Yeah.
the superficial things that you get on an Instagram feed or a TikTok feed, because you're going to want to do something with them. So they become part of you much more than, yeah. I have
Yeah.
no
It's
idea where this is going, but exciting times ahead for sure.
yeah, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Okay.
Yeah, the research is just for the people still curious. It's agentic
Well,
misalignment, how LLMs could be insider threats from Anthropic research. I also
I
wrote a small write up on call it rogue agents and what to do about them on the circuit.
And just so, okay, I see it. Just so you know, it still says connecting.
No,
Um, so this is my first time I've ever had this happen where it's gone so far. I feel like we've been talking. I don't know how long to wait to, um, or if to restart it. But oh, well,
there's lots of people joining though, so they're in the call. I don't see messages. You probably as an organizer, you can see. Can you see any messages?
oh, you can see people joining.
Yeah, there's 47 of them in the call already.
Oh wow! For my end, it says connecting still.
I do have a paywall here where it says upgrade to join chat. So
I tried to change that before the call so
yeah,
everyone could do it, but I'm still figuring that out. Okay, well, I guess let's get going then.
yeah,
I
sure.
guess we already were. So, well, this is a really fascinating topic, though, of just without a doubt, it's just going to change humanity, AI, if everyone on the planet is interacting with it more than anyone else in their life. And the thing isn't a neutral thing. It's like I thought you said it's a mirror. I thought you said it really well there. So it's going to de-skill us in some areas, skill us in others. You seem to have really thought about that more than I've heard others think about it. Like, what do you think are the implications of it, or how are you thinking about that for yourself?
Yeah, it's a great question. This is one of the key reasons why a lot of people in engineering, software engineering, haven't adopted AI yet. They're afraid, that their identity is sort of tied to being able to type syntax in programming languages, which I don't know. I think it's just going to shift. The execution layer is. I mean, that's what I've been arguing for the last couple of weeks and months. Is execution layer is that's going to be AI agents, AI coworkers, AI systems, so humans have to all shift up one ladder from the junior to the senior to more strategic, more architectural, more systems design roles, which I think is great. I mean, I love systems thinking, but I think that's sort of where these kind of things really are useful. So, but you're right, of course. There's this example that comes to mind where with everybody used to I went to the supermarket maybe sometime last year or 2 years ago, and there was a cashier, and we were talking, and she'd studied business economics, but she had made a huge mistake, rounding up the items on the. I think there was something wrong with the machine, with the ATM, with the teller, and she had to round up some. She had to calculate the change in her head, and she couldn't do it.
Mhm.
Right, so there's definitely, if you don't use it, you lose it. So, and the same will go for software engineering skills for typing out code. I haven't typed maybe more than a single line of code in 2 years. So
Really?
coding agents, and I'm a bit extreme in this. I think lots of people are still on the fence. Adoption rates are somewhere between 30 and 50%. Lots of people are still using it for autocomplete in software engineering, or just very basic things. But yeah, so and I noticed this, right? My skill set. I mean, I'm lucky to have had 10 years of experience, so I'm not that worried that it will just disappear from one day to the next. But it does put into question how we're going to train junior engineers, people who don't have that experience, or juniors, or junior lawyers, or junior, I don't know, HR professionals, or whatever it is, AI heavy fields. Are we going to train them? And I guess the skills will just be different, right? So.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I don't know how to think. I feel like so many people, even the people who are the builders, are thinking so short term in some ways of like, okay, I got to stay on top of the tools. I'm just going to ride this wave.
yeah,
And I do feel like uh, it's it's hard to even know what to tell my son, for example. He's 15 years old.
yeah.
Let's say he goes to college 7 years from now. Like, how do you tell someone what to prepare for or what to do? And I also just feel like, yes, we can. I feel like basically riding the wave, it
Mhm.
disrupts one thing we do. We reform our identity. We learn new syntaxes or we communicate with the voice
Yeah.
and we take on a new role. But then at some point, if everyone is doing that and really quickly, at some point, there might be fewer and fewer jobs that are
Yeah,
things that people do. So even
that's
I think
true.
there's always going to be things for people to do to get paid for on some level. Like
Yeah,
even if it's like we don't because we say AI can't do this, only humans will.
yeah.
But on the other hand, like I don't. It feels like there's like a fire in some ways, and like we're all going for an exit. One exit is a
It's hard to tell, but I think the most dangerous or the most striking thing about it is perhaps the pace of change is much higher because in the West we transitioned from product based from people just to services economies, but it took 30-40 years to get there, right? To right now services, business services are pretty much the dominant economic activity in most advanced economies, which is people selling services, doing things for other people. um, so the and then people with AI, they're able to leverage. I mean, I don't know. I don't see us, people going away. I mean, there is of course the existential threat of AI systems blowing something up because right because
right, right,
because they've gotten so powerful. But other than that, I mean, legislation will need to kick in at some point because you can if you have too much power concentrated in the hands of too few. I don't think that's a good thing, right? Because
right.
people get
I agree.
with too much power, they tend to go crazy over time. If nobody talks back to you, then you just you're gonna at some point think everything you do is amazing. Um, but yeah, I don't see. I see I definitely think there's going to be a period of disruption, but I don't think it will be the end of work. It will be the change of work where like
Or a
the digital
redefinition of what work
yeah,
is.
yeah, how we do, what kind of work we do. It's the same with calculators. There you used to have rooms full of human calculators, and now and then Texas Instruments introduced the digital calculator. They became staple. So yeah, it's just that's just the way. So you no longer needed those kind of things. And I think where the majority of the impact in the first wave will be in administrative work. That's also what the WEF Forum Future of Work, what the World Economic Forum Future of Work study is highlighting. So where you're doing just mostly schlepping data from one system to another, you're definitely at risk. But if you provide any kind of but at the same time, the best hedge against this is to hone your creative and your analytical thinking. Those skills are still in high demand, and they're going to be in high demand for years to come because you need people to oversee that these systems work. Right? They are not they are not built once and then fire and then just let them run. These systems need to be upgraded, maintained continuously. So
Yeah.
I do think, for example, software engineering is less of a safe bet than, and you already seeing this. You've already started seeing this in the US with the last 2-3 years. Less hires in tech and mostly in software engineering, but
Crazy because it was the most prestigious,
it
high
used to be,
paying job
yeah,
being threatened. It's kind of
exactly. It was used to be like doctors and then software engineers, more or less as the two most safe professions to train for. I think AI, but on the other hand, you do see a lot of roles opening for AI engineers. So because with all these systems, you need people to know how to maintain them, that in depth know what these systems are capable of, what these models can do. So it's a whole new job category as the year where you saw the same thing in marketing. For example, I did a lot of work in marketing, coming from a marketing background, and you saw people transition from designing marketing copy to managing programmatic buying software because that's just where leverage was. So it doesn't mean roles change, your work changes, but I don't think these systems are ever going to be good enough that they're able to self-replicate. And I mean, they need human guidance and strategy to tell them what to do, right? To give them set the right guidelines, guardrails, directions for them. So I don't think that will change. We don't want. I don't see any reason why we would want that to change as well, right? Because we want to
yeah,
keep the human world human, right? um,
yeah. I don't know. I guess I feel like I don't think it's worth going to. I feel like okay, let's say there is an existential risk.
yeah,
I don't know any way personally to evaluate it. I just think it's interesting that like Dario thinks there's a 25% chance that this like his number. I guess in Silicon Valley it's P doom, probability of doom.
yeah,
Joshua Bengio, you
yeah,
mentioned, is very high on that. Jeffrey
yeah,
Hinton, and Elon Musk is, I think, at like 20%. So
Yep.
that's just concerning that people are building something that they think could, but let's just ignore that. I do agree with what you're saying about the pace is the fundamental thing, like using the fire, like there's a fire in a room, people are trying to get out.
Yeah.
Like once you're out, it's like, okay, there's a lot of opportunity. But if the fire were slower, like it started, like there's a papers on a desk and it was just going very slowly, like I think it could be much more, everyone get out safe, wouldn't be a big deal. So
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a good metaphor. And I think the
I don't know.
thing that
I don't see it as an existential risk. I mean, yes, I do think you have a personal responsibility. Been arguing this for a long time. I mean, our Western governments are pretty much all they have stack need. They're waiting in debt, right? So they're not going to be able to bail their citizens out. So you do have to you take some responsibility on reskilling, upskilling, staying up to pace with the demands of the day and age. But I don't. Once if you do that, if you apply yourself, I don't see any reasons why this should be any kind of emergency or an urgent situation. I think, and this is something John was much more knowledgeable on the economic side. He also said this yesterday when we were talking. It's going to be. I think what you will see is probably is the death of the bureaucracy, right? Because there isn't the competitive advantage of just being able to manage and organize large groups of people and get them to do the same thing. I think that will disappear when you can do the same thing easier with agents, right, or with AI agents. But for that doesn't mean that we'll probably see more small firms, and that there's less stability there. It will be because um, you're there's no 20-year career path, which has been dwindling anyway. I mean, the lifetime or the life the average life age of a firm has been going down for years as it is, even before AI was ever popped onto the scene in the way it currently is. So I don't see that. I think some forms of organization are going to become less of a competitive advantage. Others will take over.
well,
But yeah.
yeah. Well, I feel like let's just say there's full employment theoretically,
Hmm.
and then let companies lay off 10%. I know it's not going to happen like all at one moment, but part of
Yeah.
the thing is the pace. So it's like happens in a compressed
Yeah.
time period. There's a certain percentage of people that are entrepreneurial
Hmm.
or who already have skills, who've been learning AI,
Yeah.
and there'll be the people maybe who get the first, let's say the jobs are more in AI engineer
Mhm.
type things. And then I think my model of most people is that they're not entrepreneurial
Mhm.
and they're not like, okay, and they're not in the world being like, let me read that book, let me read that book and like learn here. So there's a period of training that one needs to find the new opportunities.
Yeah.
And so to find those opportunities, if everyone's going after them around the same time, there's a dynamic there that could be really challenging for it. I do think that it's more of a time. I feel like over time it could get to a good place, but I feel like there's the transition there feels concerning.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
definitely. I think you should. Yeah, you need to take this into account and jump ahead of the market, right? For me, this is, and I agree. I've been freelancing for 7 years, so for me, this is natural, right? To want to stay ahead and keep ahead of peers and of other people in the field. What I want to highlight though, I don't think the AI specialists are going to be the one reaping the outsized rewards here.
Hmm.
Outside of those employed by OpenAI and Meta, Anthropic, right? But that's a really small group. That's a couple of thousand people at most that have been getting like NBA style salaries and so on. It's been in the news. But outside those select few, I think the majority of the rewards are people with existing expertise, existing business experience. They're able to leverage those, parlay those that expertise using AI to no longer require the institutional frameworks that they needed before. I mean, I'm seeing the same thing happen myself, where I'm doing a marketing campaign or doing all kinds of activities that used to take me that would have required a back office support or agencies. I can do myself now, right? And that's where you see heavier. You see that's also where you see much heavier AI adoption in smaller companies and freelancers, because the generalists, they're able to that where the cost picture just suddenly became much more interesting. So I think that transition is already happening. You see a lot on Substack as well, of course, but in general, I think coaching, consulting, those kind of services, they will, they will morph, but they will also, there are also lots of opportunities there that weren't there before. So
Yeah, yeah, I
where you,
agree, and I'm optimistic. I feel like with AI, it's better to be like we're creating a story about AI. There's like the doomer scenario, there's like the abundance scenario. I feel like it's important for each of us to create their own story where we can feel empowered, look forward to the future,
yeah,
and to process uncertainty.
yeah.
Otherwise, if we're in constant state of overwhelm and fear, powerlessness, then
Mhm.
like how is that helping us do anything?
Yeah, exactly. And definitely, I would recommend people who are new to this to get going, to get moving, to stay ahead of peers. I mean, yes, there's going to be more competition for roles, but and the demands of roles are changing rapidly, right? So you see all this media coverage of, I think AI literacy is now for a lot of companies is becoming a must-have for any role. Doesn't matter which one. So and yeah, there are good free programs like Google has really good free content on just getting started. And other than that, communities like Coursera, where you can learn from peers and see other people get hands-on experience, which is where it ultimately comes down to, is working with it, figuring out what it does, because there are no set answers. Right? The field
Yeah,
is evolving rapidly. Uh, I mean, in a way, and I think this is scary, but also funny to think of. Basically, we're all living in a big scientific experiment that that OpenAI unleashed on us when they first released ChatGPT in the wild. Right, because they basically ran out of people inside the company to test the product.
right,
That
right.
was the
That's a good
whole
point.
reason to put the thing online in the first place. Was they had no idea what it could do, and basically that's what we've been trying to figure out collectively, is what can these tools do, right? So that's it's a
I never,
multi-million or a billion people experiment that we're running here. It's probably the
that's a
biggest
really good way of
scientific
putting it.
experiment
Yeah.
in of all time in some ways.
Wow. I like that. I like that framework a lot. And I realize we jumped in right away
Yeah,
with everything, but just want to, for those people who are joining and join us late. So my name is Michael Simmons, co-founder of Blockbuster Blueprint, Substack publication, and Kozora, where we bring together um, people like Jonah, people who have been all in on AI and exploring it. And we every Thursday, we have a 90-minute session where that creator shares a workflow that they're doing and actually gives away a prompt to help you apply that workflow in your life. So part of the idea is because there's like a sampler course for everything that AI can do. And then you can go deeper with people or on specific skills in the community. And we have a session tomorrow at 11 a.m. EST. And if you want to check that out, you can go to kazora.org. And Jonah, and I realize I called you Jonah rather than Jonas, but I apologize.
yeah, no
Uh,
worries.
Actually, before I ask you what you're going to talk about tomorrow, so Jonas is the creator of the Substack publication called The Circuit. Let me put that in here. And he has some of the most like in-depth, practical, like high value content, I think of like of among the AI creators. One of his posts called How I Built My Second Brain in 3 hours. Let me put a message in here. Does that come across in your chat, Jonas? I just
Yeah,
let me see.
I'm seeing. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that one had over 1,600 likes and comments. So just really resonated there. And I think one of the reasons your publication resonates is you're very detailed in your posts, but also you're coming from a background with lots of experience. I've been over 10 years working with brand name Fortune 500 companies to help them with automation. through, and now you're 2 years ago, I think you mentioned you went freelancing and created Lodestone Digital. I'll put a link into the chat there for uh, people. If you have an expertise in an area, you do a service and you want to turn that into an AI product and get out of the kind of rat race of billable hours and create something with AI that can really scale, reach, and while being personalized, that's something you can check out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Jonas.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Yeah, so and I just wanted to add there, we're very early in this, right? So most of the AI products that I see being launched, and in the Netherlands at least, which where I'm based, are basically custom GPTs. So people just uploading a bunch of files to ChatGPT and then calling it an AI product. You can do a lot more already, right? And very quickly these days because AI coding is pretty much solved. So building new applications, building new automation workflows is become a matter of hours rather than days. So it's really amazing to see this pace of progress, and it's just the last couple of months. So we're heading into brand new territory here, at least in both in software engineering, workflow automation, and in AI in general. So in business in general.
Yeah. You said something that was kind of crazy to me. You said that you haven't touched a line of code or written a line of code in 2 years. That's crazy. So basically, you've been having AI. I didn't think it was at that level. I felt like, okay, it can generate you 90%, but then you need to type in a lot of new code or things like that. Can you share more about like what
Yeah.
you're seeing in software?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it started for me. I was a very early adopter of Cursor, which is since grown. It's an AI coding tool that's since grown to I think $500 million annual run rate or more at this point. Back in 2024, and that coincided with the release of Claude 3.5. Um,
Mm,
and those two combined together made it really easy for me to generate code. I mean, you do still need to know how to prompt and how to do context engineering, which is one of the things I'll be talking about as well in the workshop tomorrow. I'll show you exactly how. And this context engineering is a common universal concept for any kind of interactions with models, where you're generating image, generating code, generating video, or doing any other work. So I think it's a core skill to have in your knapsack or your rucksack as you're working when you're working with AI. So yeah, indeed, basically that made it ever since. Models have only improved, tools have only improved. Recently, I switched to Cloud Code. So that's one of my go-to tools now. I use it not just for code, but for any kind of AI work that I need to do.
so you use
Um,
it more than just the general Claude.ai or ChatGPT interface, even?
yeah, I hardly
Uh,
ever. I have a Gemini subscription through my workspace. I was using that. I'm using that as an app, but I hardly ever use it. Actually, I do everything through Cloud Code these days. Um, so if I need additional tools, things not supported by Claude, I'll ask Cloud to write me an MCP server that then for example, for image generation or video generation, plugs into my workflow. So I don't need to have the main benefit, and we'll go into more detail tomorrow. But the main benefit there is that you don't have to explain to a model each time what exactly you want, what you're doing, what you're working on, what because you have all the context, all the files needed to work on a project in one place, right? So you can just reference this is look at this information here, this information there, rather than having to go to Midjourney, upload things, or it becomes a very broken workflow where you're the one keeping track of what you're doing everywhere. This it sort of helps. It's a more laid back way of working.
Hmm. Having all the files that on your computer already
Yeah,
versus like constantly trying to update the right files to the right context.
exactly. For in each different browser tab or different tool, right? So yeah, that's sort of where I'm right now. That's also what I'll be talking about tomorrow. But yeah, I was chatting on Substack with another creator about this, and it basically at this point it feels icky to manually edit code. I've sort of really grown out of the habit completely of typing lines of code. It's just so whenever if the internet ever crashes, I'll have a big problem. Probably, but then again, nothing will be running anyways.
So one thing that I think people face is overwhelm with all the different things people can do. Like Notion Agent has recently gotten a lot better, and
Yeah,
there's Claude Cowork came out, which is like the mainstream version of Claude Code.
yeah,
There's Claude Skills. Do you feel like right? The first thing that AI is doing really well is software. And do you feel like this is a key skill that everyone should have? Because you even mentioned it's not just creating software externally. You mentioned that whenever you need something, you spin up an MCP server and code that. So it
yeah,
actually helps you, which is more of an internal tool.
yeah.
How do you think about how central that is to future of knowledge work?
I think it's going to be key, definitely. I think I also mentioned this in a post, but I think probably one of the big platforms that we're going to see in 2026 or 2027, I usually early with these predictions, is a platform that lets people create and run business services, right? So and I don't think it's going to be Copilot or Copilot Studio or any of those tools more focused on personal productivity. This is more along the lines of no code tools, but for this time written for workflows because we had the whole vibe coding wave that sort of
Yeah.
crashed and died down again because there is no point in just having a front end, right? You want if you're creating something, you need to have it. You need to be able to that's still the old way of thinking where it's the front for for a SaaS app, and you're going to raise money, capital to get funding for this idea. And yes, it short tracks that thing, but you don't actually need that anymore because if you look at Y Combinator, for example, you see. But the trend is actually that people are not going for second rounds; they just need that 500K from Y Combinator, and that's usually enough to build a bootstrapped or from that point on a profitable product themselves. Um, so a platform where people without the coding skills are going to be able to actually create these workflows and paid apps, right, or paid services, paid running through agentic products. I think that's going to be one of the big things happening
That
in
makes a lot of sense.
2026. Because that's the next wave. It's not really about UI. It's about what can it do, and
Right.
how you're going to enable that, and infuse it with your knowledge, with your expertise, and package that and make it available to your customers that need it. Right. This could be
Yeah.
secure tax legislation or help getting your architectural compliance filled out. Where yeah, you go from where if you don't have to worry about hiring software engineering team, paying out of pocket for software engineers working somewhere, it just becomes so much easier to spin up a business and go directly to your customers. It sort of removes a whole lot of friction there for
So
businesses.
in a way, you're making the case that there's going to be number one centralization. So like for let's say social media, we're not in this world for the most part where we have like all decentralized people creating content on their own website.
Yeah,
Most people are creating content in the context of a platform, and the platform has really good UI
yeah,
and has so much data on the customer, and then they connect basically that UI, the customer, to a suppliers basically. So in platforms, it's content creators. Here, you're talking about service creators, and so the implication would be that the service creators don't have to worry about as much about the UI because the platform is already really good about that.
yeah.
They just need to, be able to create a really good service and then, surface somehow within that platform.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I think will happen. And you're right. It touches on two things. One was my best decision last year, content wise, was to move from a ghost to Substack, where I had my blog on the open internet. Moved it to Substack, and it started growing, right? Because the audience was there, the right people were there. And then the second is yeah. So the second is that I think Fiverr really missed a mark there. They instead of empowering the people on there, the experts in video editing, in design, and so on, giving them the tools to provide better services, they try to compete with them with AI clones, which is not going to work. They just won't have the judgment or the scale to set this
Right.
up the right way. You saw this with Klarna, for example, last end of last year, where they went all in on AI and then they reverted again because human judgment is still
Mm.
really important. Um, if you're dealing with people,
Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
so I think Fiverr, if they had gone a different direction, they could have already been this platform. Maybe they'll somebody there will realize it. Maybe it's going to be another platform, right? But
Do you feel
I
like
think
it's like an Upwork for services? Because in a
yes,
way, it's like
something
Upwork.
like that. Yeah, yeah,
So it's like in some ways, people want a solution to something. They don't
yeah,
want like AI to do part of it. And I'm a plumber, and then suddenly I need to learn plumbing. And
yeah,
so you're saying that the mistake that Fiverr made is they competed with their core supplier who
yeah,
provides solutions and then provided their customers part of a solution.
yeah,
Uh, it is interesting the relationships with platforms and their customers, or not the customers, their suppliers, because I feel like for me, I've been 10 years into creating content, and in some ways, what these platforms do is they commoditize suppliers, basically.
yeah.
And then with Google as example, they showed all the different people in the context of a feed.
Hmm.
Google Answers is really concerning to me in
Hmm.
the sense that rather than showing a feed of their suppliers, they are taking the supplier content, training their AI on it, and then just generating the answer with a smaller citation, which, most people don't really want the citation, they want the answer.
Yeah,
So because they're competing with each other for the customer, there's a strong push for them to like, they have to provide what the customer wants, which in the end, they want an answer. They don't want a feed. So part of me is concerned that maybe this right now, the Fiverr made the wrong choice, right? Because they weren't ready to do the solution. But there's just a strong incentive for these platforms to basically get as much as they can from the supplier and then ultimately provide the AI service. So
yeah. That's true. That's always a risk, right? If it becomes very profitable, I think Amazon is probably the prime example here. No pun intended, but they have this strategy for their, I think, Amazon Essentials. It's called, or Amazon Basic,
yeah,
where they see a category doing well, they see maybe one or two category leaders, then they just, take over the category, launch it their own, plug their products way above way above the fold, and then they sort of extort the category leaders, like I don't know what's like toilet paper or electronics or whatever it is, right? They extort them because the only way for them to rank in the first on the first page is to pay Amazon tons of money. So it's a win-win for Amazon, but not so much for the other companies. Right? There's definitely the platform risk there, and yeah, data portability is of course would be very much would help a bit there. But you're seeing the same thing with Google, right? I stopped using Google search a long time ago. I switched to DuckDuckGo and then or
yeah,
Perplexity and all kinds of AI tools. Because it's been so gamified, it's been so so the rent seeking has gone to a level where it's just no longer a useful or usable product. As you can type something in, you get like half the page is just it's ad driven, not necessarily the best. I find this out the hard way as well, doing writing a blog where I figured I'd be able to get people to subscribe to an online newsletter on Ghost via social media, but via other social channels. But it wasn't really. I don't think the internet is open internet in that sense exists anymore, and platforms are yeah. It's just the lesser of two evils. Where I think knowing where the right audience is much more important than because at least that way you'll as an individual, at least. That's why I'm doubling down on LinkedIn this year, because that's where my buyers are, right? So it's not necessarily the platform I enjoy spending time on, but I'm gonna learn to love it, I guess.
right, right.
Uh, uh, because yeah, it's just It's just where the business owners, the professionals, the managing directors are that would be interested in talking to me, or I could help with my services. So, um,
Yeah,
and
it's
then it's great,
interesting.
right? There's a huge, instead of hoping, spraying and praying, there is actually an audience there that can. Yeah, in a sense, it's also, there's positives, but also negatives, but also positives.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I've just been doing it so long too, that as a content creator full time for 11 years, but then even I went through a period before that where I was a few years creating a blog. So I've just seen the rise and fall of platforms and dynamics. So I feel like it is a good, basically the deal is you give us content, we give you traffic. And so but also at the time, what I've noticed over time is that they keep on changing the algorithm, and or they do this feature or that feature. So the creators, you're kind of orienting around what the platform wants
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than the customer.
like
And
Substack
so
Lives, right? Like Substack Live, which
exactly the
people
fact
are
that we're
pushing right
here.
now. And they're
So
making some weird product decisions as well at Substack. It's really, I think one of the first lives I saw was with Chris Best, the CEO of and founder of Substack, and it sort of really some things clicked together, which I've been seeing, which I just didn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, and I mean that's the thing with platforms. You do have to play by the rules, at least some part of some of them, and you can pick and choose. I was in a, I did a, I had coaching from Tim Denning beginning of last year,
yeah,
and he had like I think maybe like, I don't know, 500,000 subscribers on Medium, and at some point he decided the platform was just not worth it anymore, and he just, he stopped posting on
yeah.
there altogether. He walked away from that whole from that audience because he didn't like what they were doing with the platform, and that's a risk. I guess it's less of a risk on Substack because you can at least take your subscribers with you. So at least in that sense, it's already a lot better. But yeah, it's always a risk. I mean, they might end up doing, making some poor decisions on Substack. I think they had like the reels in at some point, and I'm glad that they got rid of those. Yeah, what I really like about Substack is it has the highest concentration of people who actually read on the planet, probably, which is, as a massive
Right, right.
reader myself, I read a lot of books. I think it's right to be able to, it's great to be able to connect to people with sort of similar mindset frame. There's no other platform like it out there right now. So
Yeah, there really isn't.
so far, I'm enjoying it a lot on here. It's more fun than I had on the internet in a long time. So let's see how
Yeah.
long it takes. Right? I mean, it takes a couple of bad product decisions for them to load a thing, but
One thing I'm processing is basically like what happened with the Medium happens on every platform over time. In my experience, is that they make they're competing with each other for attention.
yeah,
So it's like TikTok has short form video, they have to do that.
yeah,
And so even though Substack has a model that's their business model is based on creators,
mhm,
they're also competing in the world of attention. So they have to like
yeah,
why would they do reels? It's like, okay, well, they need
yeah.
attention to the platform.
Yeah, I
And
understand.
so
I understand the decision, but the outcome was less. Uh,
I think my worry is the the thing that was always what you had is you could say, okay, every post you do, I'm gonna get traffic, I'm gonna funnel them to email subscribers, and then I own them. And
mhm,
so seeing Google Answers play out, and then Google owns Gmail,
mhm,
it feels like there's like an obvious where this is the paradigm of email. I don't feel like it's necessarily going to end with, okay, you log in and you just look at a feed of emails. As soon as they release some sort of summary tool where it's like, that's the prime thing you interact with, and
yeah,
and then there may be your emails that's there, but it's like relegated to the under part. It fundamentally changes our ability for creators to directly connect with people. And
yeah.
so
It's a good
that's
point. Yeah.
causing me to, I don't know what to do at that point of like, you're kind of losing that.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, that's a good point. And I did look into this a little bit a couple of months ago when I was doing email analytics, just figuring out, and just asked AI to generate a small history of how spam filters and started working. And it's already this way, right? With the primary inbox and the secondary inbox, you already have this algorithmic sorting happening in your inbox. It's not a neutral platform. It's another. algorithmically determined environment that you're operating in. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't have the answer either. I mean, so far, email addresses have been very stable as the one thing that the one address, your online address, right? Your digital address, that that might change. What one thing I've been advocating for a while is digital identities. I mean, non-commercial ones. I'm a heavy Google user, so I tend to log in with Google everywhere. Ideally, there's either from I'm based in the EU, so for EU or some open consortium of like open industry standards that just tells everybody how you can verify that you're a human online, and then each platform just sticks to those rules because it's better for them. That solves a couple of things, including
Hmm.
the bot problem. Will hopefully, or I mean, the people will be able to hack it, but it will be less of a thing. Content as well. I mean, it's would be less about how you generate it and more about who is generating it, which is pushes the burden where I think it should be with the people using the tools, not with the tools themselves. Um, so there is,
Hmm.
and then this address, which right now it's basically Outlook and Gmail that are owning the majority of these online addresses, which are owned by these companies. That would then at least there would be an alternative there. Um,
So
but yeah,
if I
yeah,
understand you correctly, you're kind of saying a hope would be if you broke down the internet to almost like there's identity layer, there's like a message and address layer where you could send messages between the addresses, and let's say a content layer
yeah,
that, one hopeful thing is, theoretically, if there were some sort of decentralized open standard that, that's one, of course,
yeah,
it's easier said than done, but that would be an amazing
yeah,
thing. And people have been trying to do that, like
yeah,
Blue Sky and Mastodon.
yeah. Which are not great products. Was on Blue Sky for a little bit, and blockchain, of course, which I'm really not a fan of blockchain at all. I was kind of enthusiastic at the beginning, or curious, but I don't really like where it's been. It's just inefficient as a technology. But those kind of things is where I mean the analogy is right. So the real estate analogy is maybe where some sort of laws or would really help here on in the online space. I think we already have laws for how to regulate space, as in outside of our atmosphere and the moon. There's at least some international rules and regulations, but digitally. Um, consumers being able to stake their own piece of real estate has never been a thing. Maybe there needs to be a movement there as well, where it's just I don't know what kind of body of governance, if that's like what's it called? It's like the WW3 or something like that. Like it's called
Yeah.
those kind of organizations,
WWC3 or something.
C3, that could play a role there. But I think that would already go a long way in a drive towards more portability, right? Where you can just you own your data and those kind of things, which are big in the EU with the GDPR. And
Right.
I think I really like that, right? I'm able to download all my data, um, and then with Cloud Code, I can just analyze it, learn what I learn, and then go someplace else. So
Yeah. I am a believer in absolute power corrupts absolutely.
yeah,
That, and I just think these companies, I was mapping it out. It's just like four companies. They own like access to the world's attention, basically, with Meta, Google, Twitter. They have all the customer data.
yeah,
They have all the content to train it, and they also happen to have all the AI models, the leading AI models as well: Grok, Gemini, ChatGPT, and then I guess Claude. So, um, this just it's hard to. They have power over the customers and they have power over the suppliers, and I just don't feel like over time, as they get more and more power, I feel like it gets a little bit. It doesn't. You don't see the same increase in value for customers, and for in some ways
yeah,
it just, to what you were saying, you've probably seen the Cory Doctorow idea of enshittification.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's it feels
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a dynamic. It's a monopolization dynamic, right? So you go from And this is with the whole platform lifecycle. It's the same thing. You go from early adopter to then there's like a period like or the Gartner life cycles where there's like a period of a rapid growth and people are happy and enjoying, and then there's like mature and the rent seeking starts, monetization, and you get the managers in rather than the product people. And these kind of companies, you get the people pushing for to squeeze every last dime out of the audience or out of the thing that they've built, and then and then it's sort of quality degrades, and then there hopefully if markets operate as they should, you get an alternative product that's better, that treats its users better, and then you just people flock to that one. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, we had this idea. I think it's still the number one cited academic paper is Clayton Christensen's book,
Yeah,
Innovator's Dilemma.
yeah,
His work. Uh,
yeah. From way back when, yeah, yeah,
but the idea that these startups can take, and actually, I'm just looking at the time here. Do you have a
yeah.
hard stop?
Not really, but yeah. Let's wrap it up in a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Awesome.
There's a question from Dan I saw. Can
Oh, wow. We're actually getting questions. Thank you. I don't have the feed here. So, yeah, let's go to the feed. What was the question?
uh, there's flaws in output. I see LLMs as being phenomenally helpful, of course, but we tend to see flaws in their output in areas where we have domain expertise. Yeah, that's definitely true. Missed details. Um, yeah. So, as someone that does not understand how to code, I've been enjoying Vibe coding. I've been hearing that coding is now something that can be handled almost all by. Okay, it's not a question; it's a comment, I guess. But any
Yeah.
questions? I mean, happy to hear from the audience, right?
Yeah. Normally I would. I just don't see the feed in front of me, and I can't get Substack to
Ah,
allow all commenters in. So I want to move towards that. But yeah, if you
yeah,
see any comments, you could.
yeah.
This is a good time if you're a paying subscriber to jump in.
Yeah, for
And
sure. I'll be happy. Yeah. Okay, so Dan is going to reframe it about. And about non-coders. I think the question Dan is asking is people that are not coding, handling, building applications and deploying them for the business without the help of any expert in coding. Yeah. I think that's a great question because sometimes for the last mile in deployment, you do really need to have that software engineering or application development experience. But that's where a platform would come in, right? If you standardize the deployment of these applications, the QA, make that easy for business users, for non-technical users, give them the tools to develop workflows robustly, to test them properly. Yeah, you need these platforms will need to do the hand holding that a software engineer would otherwise need to do,
hmm,
right? So that sort of there are some gaps in them that the models cannot solve, guardrails, testing, and so on that you either do yourself or people do it for you, right? So or other models do it for you, right? That's which is also you see that happening more often. Where AI,
y-
where one model generates something, other models check if it's correct, right? That's a very common pattern these days.
yeah. So tours the idea of the last mile. You have a great Substack. Is that part of what you envision doing? Is it something else? Can you share more? People who want to check out the circuit, where should they start? What's the value you're providing them?
That's a great question. I thought I was helping people by creating these Make.com automation templates. It's also what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. I don't think that's the world in 2026 anymore. I don't think that's where the value is. So I'm right now I'm doing a lot of content on Cloud Code, which because that's just my mainstay. Other than that, any documenting my journey was starting this AI agency, right? Going from freelancer from billable hours to products and services, or so that's something else. And of course I'm just so the main reason I started this newsletter was just to keep up to speed with latest advances in AI. So lots of nuanced takes based on my 10 years of experience building AI products. They will, yeah, I mean, they will continue to be there. I was thinking of doing a thing about co-work, for example, but then
Oh,
Joel
no
moved
work.
me to the punch. I think you already read some really good article on it, Joel Salinas. And also, I tried it out. doesn't really cover. It doesn't yet have the breadth of features and applications that Cloud Code has. It's much more limited in scope. Um,
Mm.
so yeah. So
Y-
I don't know where this will go because I don't know what the I mean I'm just trying to keep up with the changes, see how they fit into my workflow and my business, and then documenting that. That's sort of where I'm at with the circuit right now.
And what do paid subscribers of your newsletter get?
So they get right now they get the AI automation playbook, but that's the 2025 version, and I really need to update that because we're living in a new reality. So a year is a long time in AI. The
Yeah.
access to the make.com automation templates, which do still play a part in my second brain setup. I am still using them. They're still running in the background. I'm using them for some, fixed automations where there's fixed processes, but they're playing a smaller and smaller part in my overall. So maybe I'll start adding Cloud Code Bootstrap, Project Bootstrap instructions, or those kind of things, more technical things to get you started without needing to read all the through the documentation to have 10 years of experience in the field easily. So probably along those
Yeah.
lines.
I mean, I'm not just saying this, your articles are really thorough and they walk people through step by step in the visuals. Uh, and as a writer, I know that's not easy to do, or it takes a very fine grained way of thinking. So maybe it's saying just how your depth. How do you feel like what separates you versus other Substacks out there? And giving you the permission to toot your horn, but I feel like people
Uh,
need to know that like you're going a level deeper. You have a deeper layer of expertise and a lot of things that you do.
yeah. I mean, that's the main thing. I think. I mean, I've been building AI, agentic AI products. I'm currently managing teams running multi-million-dollar projects at large enterprise clients, which I've been doing for years now, for more than a decade. So there's the nuance of people adopting AI, right? Where I'm trying to lead my teams, also to get my teams up to speed with the latest advances in agentic AI and AI coding, and seeing those gaps appear. So my takes are usually really informed from practice, right? From the actual practice of building agentic AI applications. And before that, I was building traditional machine learning applications. So also AI applications, but more those are typically more decision support systems than actual coworkers that we see emerge right now as a new paradigm. So there will be more of that. It's and I just wanted to mention as well here. I'm really happy with all these AI tools that I built for myself. And I also document on the circuit that I'm able to. It used to take me 8 hours to write a newsletter. Now it's down to 3 hours. So sort of,
Nice.
I can go through the research to the draft phase, the great supporting materials a lot faster with all these AI tools I built. So I'm just for me, it's the main goal is going to be to keep up to speed and figure out what and then look forward, which is something I've been doing also as a AI product lead and more recently as an AI architect is I need to project ahead 6 months, what the impact is going to be in a fast moving field of technological developments, of tooling changes, of new
Yeah.
capabilities, new models that are released. I need to think about what's going on, how's this going to impact my roadmaps, my work in the next couple of months, the next 6 months. So I sort of provide early warning signals in a way, or early
Yeah.
heads up that you might need to change things. And in a lot of situations, those are needed, right? If you kind of sink time into learning something, might be. So, for example, I wouldn't recommend people in 2026 to spend all their time on make.com and then think they know AI. There's a AI literacy is different these days.
Yeah. Yeah. That shows exactly why people need someone like you or Kazora
Yeah,
is if you just spend all your time going down on a bet that works right now, but then 6 months it's completely
yeah,
not there, then that's a risk that a lot of people
yeah. And
take.
I don't mind. I mean, I don't mind. This is for me. It's like a hobby hour, right? So I can just tinker with it, try out new things. and the number of times I've had to update just my AI coding workflow, it's in 2 years, it's just completely changed how I was working. It's at least 4 times or 5 times, depending on how you count, where I just had to, completely rethink how I was working with AI. So, it feeds back into my professional work, or into my freelance work as well, um, because it allows me to understand faster how to get the most out of these tools.
And how much is it for a paid subscriber to be a part of it?
It's a steal, right? It's a lot less than so it's €5 a month.
Wow,
Um,
that's really good. It's kinda crazy when you think about it, of like, I don't know, like, I don't think you do one-on-one consulting, but, like, in my head, you would charge, like, 500 to $1,000 per hour to
no,
do it.
no, not that much. No, no, no. My hourly rate is €200 an hour, so it's roughly $200.
Or
But those are
maybe what I
usually,
think you could do, or maybe if you're
yeah.
doing bulk, but I feel like in my head, when I think about valuation, it's like, "Okay, how much would I pay if I was paying someone?" I didn't know you and I was doing it. So, $5 per month. I know sometimes people just feel like sometimes people misvalue knowledge and just it's worth
Yeah, and one thing I'm launching this year is a community as well. More also, I did inspired a bit by Kazora, but focusing more on business professionals, experts that are trying to make this transition to figure out how they can leverage their expertise. It's right now it's just a free school community, but we'll limit it to paid subscribers down the line. It's called AI Operators. It's
nice.
part of a one-on-one coaching program that I developed with Tim Denning. If you know, it's one of the biggest online writers in the world. So yeah,
That's live right now. It's called AI Operators.
it's in work in progress. I mean, you can join, but there isn't much. I will stack the decks over the course of this year. Because it really it also helps me, right? For me, the main goal is to sell my services, and talking with people, learning about their problems. It's also fun. I really like to hear different takes. Working mostly with remote clients, so it's good to get some fresh perspectives.
Yeah, I
Um,
love that.
and then it also helps me figure out how I can help my clients best. So I think yeah,
Great.
that's pretty much me at the moment.
All right. Well, we got a little taste today. So if you want to go further, check out Jonas's The Circuit on Substack. It's metacircuits.substack.com. And then, or check him out tomorrow at 11 a.m. with Kozora. You go to kozora.org, register there. You'll get the information how to join it. So,
Awesome.
Jonas, really nice personally to get to know you better.
Yeah,
And thank you for all the people live or who's going to listen to this later.
yeah.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Michael. Great talking to you, man.
See ya.